Hello, everybody, and welcome to a quick live stream. It's a Monday afternoon, just at 3 o'clock. And I know that most of you are at work, so you probably won't be tuning in, although, there's at least one of you here. So, hello. And Daniel and Shaul, you two are the first two winners of of today. You both are the first to comment on two separate platforms, and Yaku and everyone. So, yesterday, I ran an article. Well, I ran a graph from an article by Professor John Lott on his website, the Crime Prevention Research Center, that went about, or rather, it described farm ownership per 100,000 across several countries versus the homicide rate of those countries. So it drew a nice little dot correlation chart. And Mr. Punisher is here, Kathy, Anton, Dean. Geez, like, okay, hello. This is a much more popular thing than I thought would be on a Monday afternoon. But anyway, so there was a little bit of controversy to this, but I think the controversy stems from not so much the contents of the graph, but how people interpret it. So I'm just going to pop it on the screen quickly. So this here, let me take myself. from what's going on this graph is the fact that there is no correlation between the more guns you have, the more murderous your country is. That's just not true, right? So, so what's happened, what people say is the anti-gun lobby wants you to think that the more guns there are in civilians' hands, that's what gun-free South Africa at least say, the more murderous the country is going to be. But that doesn't explain, like, why is South Africa, which is right over here, why do we have so much murder, but we have so few firearms? And in fact, what's going on over here? I mean, here we have a cluster of countries down here that have 2 to 3 times the amount of guns we do, and their murder rates are right down. So there is no correlation between the amount of guns a society owns versus, its murder rate. Otherwise, the United States, which is such a big country, and this is the thing, a lot of people go, but the US is an outlier. The US is a massive outlier. It's got a population of like 330 million people. It comprises 50 territories, which are states and commonwealths. It's actually an outlier that we need to take into account. That's how important they are, and the sheer amount of guns they have. You can even draw, your own conclusions that the fewer guns in civilian hands, in lawful civilian hands there is, the higher your murder rates are going to be. So a lot of people try to confuse the issue. They say, yeah, but you need to compare firearm ownership with firearm murders. I go, no, you're misunderstanding the issue completely. If that's a comparison you want to make, if you want to compare purely the amount of firearms that are owned per 100 people versus the firearm murder rate alone, you're not really comparing apples to apples. Murder is murder, okay? It doesn't matter what the murder is committed with, okay? And I'm going to come to the comments in a moment. So let me share a different screen here, because this is another one you guys need to see, and it's kind of important. Let me just see intentional homicides. This is the one. Okay, cool. So here we have intentional homicides per 100,000 people in the United Kingdom. Now, it starts at 1994, it's about 1.6. Then 1995, it's the same. Then it dips in 1996, which ironically was the year they had a mass shooting in the United Kingdom that led to legislation being imposed in 1997 that banned handguns and semi-auto rifles and a whole bunch of stuff. Interestingly, 1997, the year this ban was enacted, what happened? Homicide rate increased back to 1.6, stayed steady, 1.6, stayed steady, 1.6, stayed steady, increased to 1.9 in 2002, came back down a year later to 1.6, and then only in 2005, which was 8 years after the ban happened, only 8 years after the ban happened, did the United Kingdom's homicide rate go back to the pre-ban sort of level, and even then it was moving sideways. Then it started going down a bit as policing resources were increased, and in recent years it started spiking back up. Well, it only goes to 2017. It kept increasing since then. So let me just exit the screen here quickly and come back to you where I was. Boom. So murder is murder. Whether someone gets stabbed to death, strangled, burnt, bludgeoned, or shot, we don't classify homicides, regarding items unless you want to have some sort of academic purpose to it. If we say, in countries with fewer gun ownership have fewer gun murders, we can go, okay, but then we at the same time saying, but yeah, those countries have a huge amount of more murder where people get stabbed to death. So if you ban guns, your firearm homicide rate decreases, but your overall homicide rate increases, then you haven't won. You haven't achieved your public safety objective. And this is a huge issue for confusion for a lot of people, where they focus so much on so-called firearm-related murders that they lose sight of the bigger picture, which is the overall homicide rate, which is not a function of civilian gun ownership. In fact, if you look at the John Lott model, which you can read about in More Guns, Less Crime, and there is a piece of research from Dr. Richard Wesson, which is on my website, whether or not the Lott model is applicable to South Africa, which according to his research it is. Higher rates of civilian firearm ownership is negatively correlated with the homicide rate. What this means is the more civilian gun ownership you have, or the higher rate of it you have, your murder rate starts declining in response to it. That's not necessarily a causal factor. We say correlation does not equate causation. However, upon deeper investigation, there were causal links established so that we can argue to a certain degree that, in fact, yes, it is a causal factor, or there is evidence that it very much can be or is a causal factor. Common sense, of course, helps here in the sense that we don't need complicated models to explain to us what common sense dictates. That if you have an armed and trained citizenry that carry handguns concealed on their persons as they go about their daily basis, and you're a violent criminal, the cost, the opportunity cost of being a violent criminal is now higher, because your odds of getting shot and killed by an armed civilian is now markedly more than in a society where civilian disarmament is a thing, or where civilians can't carry guns, or where they are hamstrung with other restrictions. This is a common sense approach. I don't need an academic article to tell me these things. So that's basically just a little thing I wanted to tell you. Well, while I've got you here, while I'm holding you hostage, let's put this screen back up, and I'm going to change something. This is all World Bank open data.org. Okay, let's take the United Kingdom away, and let's go to our favorite country, right, for gun debates. Let's go to Australia quickly. And Australia, over the same period, the homicide rate moved sideways. Let's actually just increase this a bit so you can see it had a downward trend anyway. It was higher up previously. And then in 1996, it was also 1996 and 1997. It was a Port Arthur massacre happened somewhere around here. And also in 1997, legislation was enacted, the National Firearms Agreement in Australia, that banned civilian guns. Okay? So in the year of the ban, 1996, it's there. Immediately, homicide rate increased. It then decreased, went back up, and it stayed higher to pre-ban levels. Now, I might be getting my thing wrong here, but it only started a meaningful increase about 2002 again. And only then, and I did an article on this, which I will actually post up on the group about Australia. If you look at the expenditure that the Aussies did on policing resources while this was going on, that's a far bigger explanation as to why they eventually forced the homicide rate down, purely by the amount of expending or the amount of spending that they did on it. So I will put that article up and you can go read the research yourself. I had to go through yearbooks of Australia. I had to go look up homicide rates. I had to go look up policing statistics. I had to go look up how much they spent on policing, how it correlated with their population growth. It was a whole gedoente, but the research is done. And the gun ban isn't what forced the Australian homicide rate down. Let's just put it that way. Okay. So that's that. And before I start taking questions and answers, I need to just be a quick shill here. So two things. One, if you buy Boeretroos coffee, there's a link below this video. Through that link, Paratus gets a commission. It's really good coffee. I'm going to try get Rian Kutsi on a live stream because I've been drinking his coffee so long. And I told him, dude, I want to monetize Paratus, but I don't want to hide stuff behind paywalls. And he said, look, do you want to become an affiliate to the coffee thing? They've been doing that. I said, sure. I like the coffee. I'm more than happy to stand by the product because I know it's quality. And he gave me a link. And anyways, that happened. That's one thing. Second thing, this little job. This is a dummy round. Now, the cool thing about it is it's 3D printed, but it's in a normal brass case. And you can see it's a dummy round from 3 separate angles. So if you're a type of guy that carries frangible stuff or eliminators or whatever the hell you want, and you're scared of ever confusing something, good luck confusing this with one. So presently, you can get them from me. You can send me an email. There, boom. And it's 170 Rand for a packet of 10, and I will get them shipped to you. So if you're interested, drop me a mail, and that's it. And that's about it I can say for product shilling. The T-shirts, the hoodies, and the caps are still coming. And I'll get info or post links as the production starts up and orders are, and it's open for orders. So now let me see what you guys have been saying to me on the side of the screen here, because you always make some really decent comments. Most of you do. You usually do. Oh dear, did you guys lose audio? Oh, Sherbet. Okay, so I went on and on and on and on forever, and the sound just disappeared. Oh, God. Okay. So I'm going to have to explain everything again. And gosh darn it. Gosh darn it. Okay. Is the sound back? Someone just give me an indication. Hang on. Let's try this again. But I think you guys, okay, so I think you guys caught the tail end there that where I was going on and on and on. This is a bit of a silly thing. So if I share the screen there and yeah, okay. Amateur mistake, a horrible amateur mistake. Horrible amateur mistake. Jacques is asking me, is it round a blank or a snap cap? It's like a snap cap. It has a surface for the firing pin to strike on, but it's pretty much a dummy round. I wouldn't use it as a snap cap per se, although you can, but it's great for practicing stoppages, all this sort of stuff. There was no sound on the graph explanation. Okay, let's quickly just revisit the graph explanation. It's not a more of a complicated story. Let me just open it again, and then I can just put myself back in, and I'll just quickly run over it because this is at least a very, very, very easy thing to explain. It's not a massive problem. So let's just do screenshot. Boom. Okay. So here we go. So hopefully you guys are hearing me now. So what we have here is gun ownership, homicide rates for countries covered by the Small Arms Survey. On the left here, we have Honduras, El Salvador, Jamaica. This hasn't really changed. Venezuela is more murderous since they banned guns in 2012. This graph dates from 2014. So it's not the newest graph, but the idea still counts. And firearms per 100 people. South Africa sat here at about 15 firearms per 100 people. Honduras much lower. Trinidad and Tobago much lower. Venezuela has probably moved to the left as legal ownership by civilians was banned in 2012. And the United States is right up here with just under 90 guns per 100 people. Homicide rate, though, I mean, look at the murder rates of the countries where they have low rates of firearm ownership. And the United States might be an outlier, but it's an important outlier because it's a population of 330 million people over 50 territories, that we quantify as states or commonwealths. And it's a very dynamic country, right? So that's an outlier that you cannot ignore because of its size. So if the rumor was true, or rather the lie was true, that the higher the rate of firearm ownership in a country, the higher the homicide rate, then the United States wouldn't be down there, nor would a place like Uruguay, any of these. The anomalies are to the left here, where you have generally underdeveloped countries with repressive regimes, bad politics, bad economies, with bad gun laws. And what do you sit with? You sit with these murder holes on the left-hand side of the screen here. And I think I already spoke about the fact that people misinterpret this stuff as they go, okay, I think we already had a chat about correlation versus causation. However, there are causal factors here. And that's roughly the point I was trying to make before the sound just went bye-bye on all of us. So this hasn't been a super successful stream, but you're all still watching miraculously. So that's all I wanted to say, and I'll remove that one from the stream and I'll come back. So yeah, damn it. Okay, well, I've learned a valuable lesson. Now I'm just going through the comments again. 2001 to 2005, UK doubled their police force and resources. See, this is the sort of stuff. This is the type of data, honest, that I haven't been able to get from the UK because I haven't looked into it deeply enough yet. I did it for Aussie, but I haven't done it for the UK yet, but I will. But that kind of explains the graph we looked at earlier about the UK homicide rate, doesn't it? Paul, my gun stopped a stabbing this morning, just saying. Excellent work, sir. Well bloody done. And let me guess, it's a defensive gun use that won't make it into the media, so then it won't count, because if it's not in the newspaper, it doesn't count, right? My defensive gun use didn't make it into the paper either, so it doesn't count. Can they be used? Sorry, we're talking about the snap caps. Well, not the snap caps, the dummy rounds. They can be used for dry fire practice. They're safe to be used for dry fire practice. They're designed to be safe for dry fire practice. So these aren't going to break your gun. And they're great for you to practice stoppage drills, use as a snap cap if you feel the need to do. I'm not going to use them for laser. No, I've got a laser training cartridge that I use for dry fire specifically because I like to see where the shot impacts. And the laser training cartridge, the G sight's really good for that. And I'll still do a review on that. But I'm definitely going to get myself a bag of these for stoppage training when the ranges open up again. But yeah, they're really well made. And I like the fact that there was a bit of thought put into the manufacture. Anton, I think it's absolutely stupid to only compare gun ownership and homicide rates. There are many factors, including IQ and propensity to crime and all the other stuff that if Tods don't want to listen to. That's exactly it. Crime is a much more dynamic issue, especially violent interpersonal crime, much more dynamic than just gun ownership. However, the focus politically, because politicians want us to be disarmed, they always put this focus on gun ownership. And this is why we need to fight this battle in the court of public opinion. So I'm not going to redo this video per se, but I think I'll carry on doing videos on this subject. So if you've got friends or people who don't, understand this, we can get them to watch these live streams and to interact, and we can explain these things. Because if you go to a lot of effort in reading about it, I think, since we're doing graphs, I might actually open up the Australian thing now and just show you the research I did. Let's see what else you guys are saying. Redo the first slide. I think I just did. Sean, I think the stats for gun ownership in Switzerland would make interesting reading. I believe the government there encourages. Well, most Swiss do national service, and they end up with an actual fully automatic assault rifle in their house as part of, being a citizen. They've got a bit shitty laws pertaining to carry and all this stuff. But I mean, Switzerland, it's a homogenous nation of 7 million people, very high income, high incomes per capita, very productive. They don't have the same sort of crime problems as underdeveloped murder holes do, or really bad parts of the United States. Lee, I've heard a rumor that booze might be banned from tomorrow. Is there any truth in this? Did you compare themselves? You know what? I've heard this rumor. I've read and seen nothing that confirms it. It's just quite vicious. I think if they do try to ban booze again, we must just go full crazy monkey on them and unleash the legislative power that's bubbling under the surface. And just tell the government also to fuck off, because I think we're all tired of being treated like children. Should stop playing with this because you can hear it. We're all tired of being treated like children. We're being infantilized by these sycophantic morons who are sitting in government, who are all like 65-year-old pensioners. They can't even organize a Zoom meeting that doesn't get infiltrated because they copy and paste the login details everywhere. And then they say, oh, we were hacked. They weren't hacked. You told everyone how to get in, you imbeciles. And they're the people who are writing policy and who's riding this economy and everyone on it into the ground. Laurie, finally you managed to get back on a live stream. Welcome. All the old people from Facebook who can't move with the times. Yes, guys, due to my rather turbulent relationship with Facebook, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. It just gives me another more independent platform to keep in comms with you in the event of Facebook shadow banning me again. That's one of the main reasons. Also, a lot of people have said they would like a Paratus Facebook group where you can all interact and post stuff. I'm okay with starting it. I've held off starting one for a long time because moderation is a pain in the butt and I just don't have the energy. So I'm going to need moderators and admins. If you want this Facebook group, tell me, and I will set it up and we will make it happen. Also, thank you to everyone that have sent me the small and medium business details to my email address. I'll put my email back up. So if you want the Snapcap, send me an email, 170 for 10. If you want to send me your small business's details and your logo, please send it there to me so I can add it to the small business database, which is presently under construction. There's almost like 90 businesses on there already. And this effort isn't even a week old yet. Jacques, also in the States, the majority of homicide contributors are the Chicagos and LA with strict control. Exactly. I think you could condense the majority of homicides in the US to like 5 cities or metros. Let me just show you guys something quickly while you are busy, while we are on this topic, so I can at least I'm going to be pasting this article. come now, open up. You can see my face, but you can't see what I'm typing. So I'm just actually getting it up and running since we've got, there we go. Okay, I'm just gonna share the screen. Can that one, share a new screen, because that's now how this works. Not the StreamYard one, monkeys. Okay, let's try this again. And then from there we can actually have some, hopefully this time the audio doesn't cut out, because we don't have time for that. I'm being technologically challenged at the moment. So I'm just going to go back there and say screenshot. Yes, we already shared the screenshot screen. I don't want to actually share it again. There we go. If this doesn't work, I'm just going to have to do this with you guys when, okay. For some reason, this thing is not interested in sharing my paratus.info screen. And I'm just going to have to, I'm just going to have to move on to other things, unfortunately. Sorry, guys. In any event, we'll get to that discussion in the near future. The Australia thing I'll post. You guys can just read it yourself. Russell asked a question. Did you see that Minneapolis wants to disband its police department? That the same people are happy to push gun control laws to prevent citizens from owning guns. I did see that. What, they created this problem. They created the problem with their police department. They created the accountability problem. They were statist bastards. Now they've worked themselves into a corner where they're disbanding this. It's sometimes when an organization gets so sick that you have no choice but to disband it and replace it with something new, like we're supposed to do with the SAPs, is disband it and replace it with a whole bunch of different new things. Maybe they've reached that point, but it's like, there's no structure to any of this. They've lost control. They've kneeled to the mob. You can't reason with the mob. And this entire thing is just going to take its own sick direction now. So, yeah. Russell, all I'm saying to the US is good bloody luck. Not defensive. Bunch of folks stabbing another bunch of folks next to the highway. I made a scissors arrest on all of them. Holy shit. Well done. Well, Laurie, hopefully it's not true, the alcohol ban. Let's hope that that's not actually the case. Manalisi says, if there were more videos of people using guns to stop bad guys in South Africa, it would encourage a lot of people to get firearms. Most people don't bother reading on the importance of firearms, and that's unfortunately true. It's a huge challenge to break down this public narrative of guns bad, guns dangerous, you shouldn't own guns, where it's entirely the opposite. But hopefully through concerted effort and through being in the public space all the time and having discussions like this and interacting with people like I'm interacting with you guys and getting politicians on the bandwagon and explaining to them that their voting base won't appreciate being disarmed, we can hopefully start winning this battle in the court of public opinion. That's the only court that counts. The North Gauteng High Court's a great win. If you can get a win in the Supreme Court of Appeals, that's even better. If you can get a win in the Constitutional Court, good luck. Even better, but ultimately, that's not what the battle really is about. The battle is the court of public opinion. Anton makes a really good point that the Swiss have the highest IQ. Well, if not the highest, definitely up in the top 3 of IQs, and that also explains, they're not the Swiss aren't a violent society. Fake news. Government will not give you a 5 days notice of a boost. That's a very, 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 very good summary of the shit show. Can I rather do a WhatsApp group rather than a Facebook group? The only thing I don't like about WhatsApp groups, they are incredibly difficult to moderate. They ping in your pocket all the time unless you mute them. And I'm a member of 10 WhatsApp groups affiliated to various platforms, and I don't use any of them anymore. I'm not necessarily against it. Also, I don't know what the how many members you can have on a WhatsApp group before it's saturated. I mean, the Paratus page has about 21,000 subscribers, so it might be a bit difficult accommodating everyone on a WhatsApp group. Sharbutter, can I volunteer to be admin? I need to. Sure, you can. And Paul is so hardcore Gestapo. Sure. Yes, Vlad. Okay. Everyone is okay. I would suggest a forum or something on Mighty Networks. Yeah. Look, I've already got the subreddit going. I haven't been on there in a while because I've just been swamped. Absolutely been swamped. But hang on. Don't remove yourself from the stream. Add it as an overlay. I'm gonna sit with you, a bottle of Jack, and show you how StreamYard works. The worst problem is I haven't actually removed myself because I'm supposed to sit on the side and talk. Okay, we're gonna have to iron the kinks out of this business, but yeah, we'll get there. Any political parties fighting for gun rights in SA? Well, there were two, and the one was the Freedom Front Plus has always been pretty pro-guns, and then the DA has kind of found their spirit, and I have to admit, like the MPs they have on the Portfolio Committee on Policing are very pro-gun. So those two at the moment. The Purple Cow is obviously very pro-gun, but we didn't get a seat in Parliament, so there's that. Yeah. Okay, all the woke Europeans are most certainly getting there. Like we're getting full like roads must fall in the UK, and I'm just sitting back and going, geez, like if we didn't have such major problems in South Africa, I'd sit back and have a gin and tonic and laugh at them. But at the moment, we're kind of swamped with issues, absolutely swamped with issues of our own, so I can't really comment. So guys, that's really basically it for today. I've been trying to talk to you about Australia as well, and it's just not I'm just not getting it to work. And unfortunately, as soon as I share a screen, it seems to just okay, wait, there we go, now I can share it. As soon as I share a screen, okay, can you hear me now? Just checking. Tell me if you can hear me. I'm just coming back. Could you hear me when I shared that screen? Just give me any indication of the comment. Just a yes, no, thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever. Because if you can't hear me, then I'm not going to carry on talking about Oz, because I don't want to take my audio off again, because that was bloody embarrassing. And there's still okay, great. So what we have here is this is Australia, the NFA Truth About Gun Control, down Anno Warrawara Fish Based. And there's a whole lot of stuff, but this is the interesting one. So this little graph here, Australian police spending versus homicide rate. So this was a homicide rate. The NFA was implemented in 1996, which is over there. The homicide rate increased a little bit, decreased, and then came back up, and it stayed higher than the pre-NFA rate up until about 2003, and only then did it decline. But this is what police expenditure in Australia was. And the police expenditure was worked out. Did I even say here? I must have put it as a, because this is the homicide rate here, and this must have been the police expenditure in thousands of Australian dollars or millions of Australian, well, probably not millions of Australian dollars. But anyway, great graph, Gideon. Great graph that you tell people what they're looking at. And this was the population growth of Australia versus the growth in police expenditure or police expenditure itself. And there were quite a, after 1996, police expenditure always, it tracked the overall population growth, but exceeded it quite a bit for a number of years. And this is the thing they don't like talking about when we talk about Oz, is that gun control apparently saved Australia. Right, gun control saved Australia from mass shootings, but it didn't, because if we go back to the article, there were a total of 19 mass killings in Australia since Port Arthur, and 8 of those mass killings were mass shootings. But there was a massive increase in arson attacks, and the arson attacks' average death toll was by far the highest. The mass shooting one was lowish, about 3.75 deaths per event. Stabbings were more deadly at 5.67 deaths per event. Then there were other types of mass attacks, which were 4.33, and then vehicular, pretty bloody deadly. There was one vehicular attack, but there were more subsequently to me writing this, 6 deaths in one attack, and then arson attacks, always bloody deadly. So there were still mass shootings, there were still mass killings in Australia, and they were still deadly. And I think that was the point I'm trying to make in this very disjointed live stream. That would have been more structured if I didn't make my sound go away. In any event, so that's the long and the short of it, guys. Tomorrow, unfortunately, my MP who would have joined me, Zach Mbele, he needs to be in Parliament at 12:30, half an hour after I'm supposed to do a live stream with him. So we're going to postpone that one. I'll be speaking to you instead. I'll just reschedule. Wednesday night, I've got Maurice Rudd from the Institute of Race Relations chatting to me about anything and everything at 8 p.m. So that live stream again, you guys can join in. And yeah, let me know if you want a Facebook group or if you want something else, just to make the interactivity a little bit nicer, because I really like having an interactive community. If you want the snap caps, please send me an email, and well, not the snap caps, the dummy rounds, and I will organize for you. Please buy the coffee and the link below if you want coffee. And then my last horrible shill before I start selling you merchandise: if you have a cell phone, if you have a Zapper account, and if you'd like to donate money to Paratus to help pay for an internet bill, scan that sucker, give me 50 cents or whatever, and boom, that's the end of the discussion. So thank you very much for tuning in, commenting, bearing with my absolute technical ineptitude in trying to talk about graphs and stuff. Geez, let's not do it that way again. I'm going to have some Jack Daniels with Anton, who's also, by the way, offered to do a nice little intro for my live streams. I just need to go shoot stuff, film it, and send it to him so he can put some nice heavy metal music across from it and all that sort of stuff, to make it more epic than I am as a person. But guys, thank you. We will be chatting soon. I'll be chatting to you tomorrow. And thank you for being awesome people. I really appreciate the support. I really appreciate you listening to my shit, reading it, sharing it. Thank you. Chat soon. Have a wonderful rest of the Monday. And no booze ban. No booze ban. Cheers. Bye-bye.